Welcome to another episode of The Modern People Leader. I'm super excited for today's guest, Josh. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you, Daniel. It's going to be fun to talk about this stuff. Plenty of things going on.
There's no shortage of things that we could talk about today. So it's a bummer that we only have you for an hour, but we're gonna try to squeeze as much as we can into that hour as possible.
Okay.
All right, let's do our good news stories. So, for every episode, we all share a personal or work related story from the past week or two just to kick things off. Does anybody want to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
I have got work and personal. I promise I'll keep it brief though. Work related, all of our metrics, and Daniel and I review all of our podcast metrics on a weekly basis, and everything's surging right now, and it is just really exciting. Josh, as you may know, we've been doing this for a couple years, and it started as a side project, and it's just been really mind blowing. And so that's my good news. Is it's really, really exciting. One of the metrics we all look at is like guests we have lined up, and we've essentially have guests through August, I think it was. So that's amazing. Personally, I had my daughters. I co-parent two daughters, and I had them this past weekend. And my oldest daughter was so stressed about a performance that she had. It was like a individual performance. She had never done anything like that for choir, and she made the honor choir. After all of that stress, she made the honor choir, and it's just the sense of being proud of her and accomplishment for your child is just like a cool feeling. So that's my good news for the week.
Oh, those are great. Okay, so I'll be real quick. So along the same lines, yesterday we published our predictions report, which is a big project we do around November and December. And 6,600 people downloaded it in the first day. So I'm excited about that. So and I was on the phone with the CHRO of a big company, and they had already printed it out, and they were showing me all their comments the first day. So that was great. And then on the family front, my son was just awarded one of the top sales leaders at the company he works for and got all sorts of recognition. I won't mention the details of what he does, but that was great. And my daughter, who is a marketing director, is going to come work for the Josh Bersin company. So that's exciting.
Oh,
Wow, that's the dream. Yeah, that's really cool.
I hope I can be a good father and sort of boss along the lines of
that
how
is
Good luck.
awesome.
Good luck with that.
Well, shout out to both of your kids. That's great news. All right, so I'm gonna copy both of you. I'm gonna go one business and one personal. So I guess just piggybacking off of what Steven said, this is podcast one of three that we're recording for the week. In the past, that would be rare for us, but that's the case for like the next 3 to 4 weeks. The next month, I think every week we have three episodes lined up. So a lot of recording coming, which I personally really enjoy.
Medium stressful.
Yeah,
But
medium stressful, but also I really enjoy it. And then on a personal side, my in-laws are coming into town this weekend, so that means a lot of delicious meals, and it's a good time. So looking forward to that. And now a good news story from our friends over at Transform. We are only 42 days away from the event kicking off in Vegas. If you're on the fence about going, you should definitely go. Come hang out with us and the 3,000 other HR leaders, HR teams, and future of work entrepreneurs that will be there. There's going to be over 300 speakers, an award show, a puppy booth, and a special performance from Nelly. So if you're going to be there, let us know. If you're on the fence, you should definitely do it. MPL listeners get $200 off their ticket by using our special link, which you can find in the show notes. And now, back to the show. All righty. So, Josh, sounds like your son has a sales career. And I know that that's how you started your career, right? You started in sales. Is that right?
I was an engineer for 2 years, and then later strangely got involved in sales. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Can you give us just like the quick journey from your career first in engineering to
Yeah.
sales to now being the CEO of your own company?
Yeah, I think my example is an example of what I think everybody can do with their career, which is to do what you love first and then worry later about the success of your growth and promotion and money and all that other stuff. I was always motivated by things I liked to do. So when I was coming out of college, I loved science and engineering. So I worked as an engineer for 2 years. I then went back to college to get I was going to get a PhD, but after 2 years of graduate school in engineering, I decided I didn't want to get a PhD. And I went back and worked as a business doing consulting engineering, and then decided I wanted to work in tech. And that's how I got into sales. I worked at IBM in the 80s when IBM was the Google of today, and spent 10 incredible years there in sales and then marketing and customer technical support. Then went to a smaller company in the database industry when the database market was really hot, Sybase. Spent 7.5, 8 years there. That was a rocket ship kind of company. Fell on hard times, and my kids were young, and I wanted to spend more time at home, so I didn't spend as much time working, and ended up leaving to go to work for a startup. And that startup was in online learning, and that's how I got involved in HR and training, is working in the online learning industry. And then in the year 2000, I was laid off by the company that had acquired our company during the dot-com boom or crash, and decided I always liked to write, and decided I wanted to try to do some research. And that became the career I have today. So I've had 2 or 3 very different careers, but each build on the others. And so what I try to encourage people to do is, it's very frightening to change jobs, and sometimes you have no choice. I know a lot of people have no choice when they get laid off. But if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and think about the things you're good at, you can reinvent yourself many times in your career. And I'm 66, so I'm still ready to do it at least one more time. So that's how I got to where I am. It was not planned at all. And I've learned a lot about HR, but never done HR. I've always been an analyst and a consultant, but I've never actually been an HR professional directly.
Well, I can relate to that story very much. So that's sort of how my career has gone so far. I've just done what I love and worried about everything else second. And I've never been an HR practitioner myself. I've always worked in marketing for HR tech companies. I just happened to fall into an HR tech company. I discovered that I like writing, I like doing podcasts, and now this is my job. So yeah, really relate to your story. So if you were to, I guess, run into a random person on the street and you had to describe the work that you do, how would you describe the work that you do at the Josh Bersin company?
We, for the most part, the core of what we do is stitching together the thousands and thousands of good ideas, innovations, technologies, theories, and academic research in all aspects of management and HR to try to give HR professionals some sound advice on what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because this is an imperfect science. Every aspect of management and leadership and recruiting is open to discussion. And there are hundreds of vendors and thousands of consultants and tens of thousands of books, all written by experts. And we try to make sense of all that. And we do a lot of our own research to validate it. And the second thing we do is, since I'm, in a sense, a business person first, an HR researcher and analyst and consultant second, what is the impact of this on your business, and what's going to be the most strategic to your business's, your company's strategy, not just making HR better. And I know a lot of people keep renaming it from HR to people operations to people and culture to on and on and on. We still call it HR because I don't know what else to call it. And these are the 20 or 30 million people who have serious responsibilities for very, very important things: recruiting, pay, promotion, development, culture, engagement, retention, productivity. But they never really learned how to do it except by doing it. It's a craft. It's a journey. People who do HR become better at it over time. And then they become really masterful business people as they progress in their career. We're trying to help everybody reach that stage. That's really what we're doing.
Love it. And why should we be jealous of your day job?
Jealous? I don't think everybody likes doing what I do. The people that work for us, we have about 40 employees. They love it. This is the most inspiring, energizing work that I could ever imagine. Because first of all, you're helping people, you're helping companies, you're helping businesses, and you're applying the disciplines of data and rigor to the process. You're not just kind of winging it and coming up with an idea and saying, everybody do this. You're trying to prove that what it is you're recommending will work. And when people get that and they apply it and they come back to us and say, you know what, we did what you said and it really made a difference, it's the most gratifying thing in the world. It's like being a doctor who cures a patient. I mean, we get that kind of feedback every day.
It's interesting. I was trying to think back, Josh, when I first heard about you and in your firm, and because you've been in the HR people talent game for a while, and I remember a great friend of mine. His name's Jonathan Pierce. He's a partner at Deloitte. He told me about the Bersin and Associates acquisition, I think over dinner or something, and he was walking me through all of the cool things that you guys do, and to the point earlier, like, I'm very jealous of your job. It's just so cool. And having had a career in HR, like, I just love nerding out on all things people. And I remember like hearing about the acquisition, I was really envious. I was like, oh man, like everything that he shared was just so cool, and the value proposition of that kind of acquisition. It was like a new deal. I don't think an accounting firm had acquired a firm like Bersin and Associates in the past, and so there were so many interesting and fascinating things about it. And so to answer your question, y'all, yes, there are people that are definitely jealous about what you do. And so my first question is related to the experience that you've had. So I'm curious, over the years, over the decades, what has been the most impactful game-changing events you've seen in the HR people space? Is there anything that like immediately jumps out and sticks out to you in particular?
So there's one gigantic thing that has completely changed in the 25 years I've done this. And then I'll talk about a few little things. And that is, when I started doing this, every meeting I went to, every company I visited, every question I got was the same question. How does GE do this? Everybody wanted to copy GE.
That's right.
Everybody wanted to copy the industrial, old-fashioned, hierarchical way of management, because Jack Welch was the king of the world, and Crotonville was where everybody wanted to go. And I'm not kidding. This sounds so silly to say this now, but I realized I had to know everything GE was doing in order to do my job. And as I got into that and I looked at what GE and other companies, I kept scratching my head and saying, what? That doesn't make sense. Why are they doing that? But I didn't know any better. I was new at this. And in the last 25 years, it has completely changed. Now, this is a profession of innovation, creativity, experimentation, design thinking, data-driven solutions, collaboration. Nobody wants to copy GE. Nobody even wants to copy Google anymore. I mean, it's just, you have to do what's right for your company. And it's like engineering. And I came up with this idea that HR people have to be like full stack engineers. They have to be full stack HR people. They have to learn a lot of things to really know what the right solution is going to be. So that's been the big change. The second big change is in the early days of my career, the technology part of HR was important, but it wasn't critical. There were a lot of great HR departments that didn't have much technology at all. I mean, they had payroll systems and core back office systems. Now the technology can be a total game changer in how you run your company and how you get data about people and how you make decisions and how you recruit and how you develop people. So there's this big theme of understanding data, technology, AI, user interface design, vendors, consulting firms, that has just become critical to HR. And many of the really sophisticated companies in HR are actually very good at managing technology. They take it very seriously. It didn't used to be like that. So that's another thing that's changed a lot. And then the third thing is this whole seat at the table thing. In the early days, you guys probably know this, most HR people were frustrated that they reported to the CFO. Nobody took them very seriously. Their advice was kind of ignored, and they couldn't get a seat at the table. Well, based on what's happened during the pandemic, everybody's at the table, and the HR person is at the head of the table, trying to explain why people are quitting or why they're quietly quitting or whatever's going on, and trying to do something about it. So that's been a transformational thing too. So the game has been stepped up a lot in the last 25 years.
It really has. And it's so, I mean, that's a blast from the past. I'm sure if we were in with a group of HR people today and we mentioned Crotonville, most would be like, what?
I don't think they even know what it is.
Yeah. And that was like
me in here.
That was the thing. It was a learning and training center that GE
Right.
had developed that all managers would go to if you were part of like their leadership development program. I'm probably getting parts of that wrong, but essentially that's what it was. And so the second thing that jumped out at me is like what a perfect place to be as an engineer at heart, having started like your roots being in engineering, seeing this shift in HR tech 2.0, 3.0, wherever we're at today. And I'm the same way. I always was kind of drawn to the more technical aspects of HR. So seeing this shift, and now even further, I'm so curious to see where the future is going to take us from here. But hopefully we can get to that in a second. So you just launched a book, is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, it's called Irresistible: The 7 Secrets of the World's Most Enduring Employee-Focused Organizations. And it was the results of 7 or 8 years of work on many topics, and a process of taking all this information that I have accumulated through all these research studies and conversations and consulting things, and putting it into a digestible form so that business people and HR people can kind of learn what works and what doesn't work. And the 7 secrets is a way of packaging it. And the fundamental underpinnings of the book is really this idea that the way organizations work today is different from the way it worked in GE in the industrial era, in the hierarchical traditional management model, and that the future of every company is going to be this highly network-oriented, service-centric, mobile internal development, skills-based company. And I hear this now from every company. So when I wrote the book, I wasn't predicting the pandemic. I wasn't predicting all this tech, but it enables it gives you a lot of management direction to deal with all these changes. And the latest part of it is the fact that right now in 2023, not only are we coming out of the pandemic, not only do we have an economic slowdown, but we have industries changing into other industries. Automobile companies getting into EVs and mapping and power distribution, oil companies getting into chemicals and hydrogen and electrical energy and batteries. I mean, every company has to deal with the fact that the business they're in is not the same business as they thought it was. Banks being disrupted by PayPal or Apple or maybe Google. So, if you don't run your company like a learning network, you just get left behind. You just can't keep up. So a lot of the book is a guidebook to preparing for the things that we're dealing with right now.
So yeah, I've had a chance to read the book and I loved it. I thought it was great. I loved the content. I love the way that you framed the constructs and the concepts. I love the examples, lots of examples. So I think that's hard with some of these leading edge kind of emerging ways of looking at HR and people management. It can be difficult to apply that in really straightforward terms or to be able to execute on it. And I love all the examples that you guys have given. And so the first thing that jumped out to me is, my take is that you're introducing almost like a new operating model, maybe not new, but you're putting new language around a way of working, and you call it network of teams. And you walk the reader through how we're in the midst of this shift from hierarchical team work, kind of that legacy GE type of model, to this new way, this new organization that is better prepared for what's coming in the future. Do you mind sharing it with us, just kind of where this thesis came about and the underlying concepts for this network of teams operating model?
Sure. Well, by the way, Stephen, I'm really just excited that you read it.
Of course.
When you write a book, it takes a lot of work to write a book, and you kind of wonder if anybody's going to read it. So the background of this is, I worked in IBM. I worked in some very traditional companies early in my career. So I witnessed the traditional hierarchical mode of management, which is you join the company, you have a job, you have a boss, you do your job, and 2 or 3 years later, you go to your boss and say, "Can I get promoted?" And he says, "No, not yet. Hang in there. We'll find you a new opportunity in the next year or two." And then you wait your turn. And then when the next slot opens up, you get promoted, you get a 5 or 10% raise, you get a new title, and you have a slightly different job, and you just wait. And it was called the cradle to grave, pre-hire to retire talent management model. And everybody was fine with it in the 70s and the 80s. And then, of course, everything got disrupted by the internet. And so those companies started to fall apart. They couldn't move fast enough. They couldn't adapt fast enough. I witnessed it at IBM. Obviously, GE had tons of problems like this. I could go company after company. And we realized that the great companies were just operating differently. They were moving people into new opportunities faster. They were reorganizing faster. They were willing to shut down or divest of something that wasn't working, but keep the talent and keep the skills that they had, not just lose all the people. And they were essentially operating in sort of more of a professional services model, where every human being is not a worker, but is an asset. And that every person in the company is an accelerating, increasing asset that can do many, many things, just like we talked about in the beginning of our conversation. So if your business unit gets shut down, you may actually be a great asset in a different business unit before you get laid off. So all of these things were going on. And then our company got bought by Deloitte, and we started doing all this work on digital transformation at Deloitte. And what we found in most of these companies was that you couldn't do digital, you had to be digital. You couldn't just build digital stuff, you had to operate in a digital way. And what was going through the back of my mind all this time was that this is the fundamental change that's been happening in business, which is, if you look at how Google works, or Microsoft, or most of the tech companies that make tons of money, they move things around very fast. They know who's expert at what. People don't wait their turn to get promoted. Sometimes young people are promoted over old people because they have certain skills that older people don't have. You don't have tenure-based promotion. They have understandings of skills. They focus on people's careers. They give people opportunities to move around a lot. But they're still very hard-hitting, accountable companies. They hold you accountable, and they don't put the accountability in the hands of some junior or mid-level manager who doesn't really know what the company's doing and is only worrying about one little group, which is a great start, but that's not the end. So after all this work, thinking about it and observing it and doing all the work on what the HR practices were working, that's the first chapter of the book, is how organizations have changed. And if you look at companies like Spotify and ING Bank and Google and W.L. Gore, I mean, there's companies in every industry that do this really, really well. Unilever, IKEA, even Walmart operates this way now. If you don't understand this idea, it's easy to go back to the old models of HR and old models of management, which don't seem to work very well. And the pandemic, of course, even accelerated this, because once everybody's working from home, it doesn't matter who you work for at all anymore. If you can work on another project or help somebody else, you don't have to go find the person. They're easy to find. So that's kind of the whole chapter one. And that's in some ways, the fundamentals of why all these changes are so important.
And I have to imagine that at this point, the shift, the momentum in the shift that you're describing has gained enough speed that you don't have to worry about people are coming to you. Like, how do I,
Well, the
we're ready to
problem,
change.
you know what I
How do
usually find, Stephen? There's some companies they formalize this, so they understand that we're becoming more of a network. We're going to operate in a flatter model. We're going to reduce the number of levels of the hierarchy and so forth. But a lot of companies don't formalize it. They see symptoms of it. They feel symptoms of not moving fast enough. They're not adapting to the market quick enough. A competitor just beat them to something and they don't understand why. And there's one company, for example, I won't mention the name of the company. There's a company out here in California, a very, very successful software company. They own their market. They're the number one player, but their company is designed around individual product groups that meet different needs of different customer segments individually. While that's been going on and each product group's been growing, their customer base completely changed. And the people who buy these tools don't use them in a standalone way anymore. They use them in an integrated way. This is a company that sells software to the construction, architectural, and engineering industry. And so it used to be that the designers of this bought a tool, the designers of that bought a tool. Now they want an integrated solution. So the company needs to take all these products that they've built and build them into an integrated solution and put it in the cloud. Well, it turns out that these different little business units don't even know each other. They're not used to working with each other because that was the way the company thrived, is they didn't have to work with each other. They didn't want it. So they've got this whole new operating model of how do we operate as an integrated software company that builds an integrated set of systems when our legacy, which has been so successful, has been these independent business units doing independent things. That's not an easy thing to do. You don't want to just blow the company up and start all over because you'll lose all the stuff you have. Disney's going through this right now. I mean, this is very common. So there's going to be a lot of books written on this. I'm not the only one that's been seeing this.
And in your mind, have you identified an industry or specific organizational profiles where this won't work? This network of teams model just won't work. It's not because in my head as a leader, as an executive, it's easy to think, oh, well, there's no way this is going to work.
Well, there are companies. So I think the most emblematic, exemplified company or industry of this is the consumer packaged good industry. So you look at Clorox, General Mills, Unilever, ConAgra, all these companies that sell consumer products. So what they do is they have, through acquisitions, they have all these brands that sell different consumer products to different groups. And, you know, consumers are very fickle. One day it's this kind of shoes, the next day it's that kind of shoes, one day it's this kind of food, the next day it's that. So they've got to be very, very good at understanding these constantly changing consumer needs of these individual groups. But they have to have common approaches to sales, to marketing, to channels, to distribution, to IT, to quality. So they have this really puzzling problem of meeting constantly changing consumer demands all over the world that are somewhat unpredictable and responding very quickly, but also scaling all that other stuff. So how do they do that? What they usually do is they have business units that own these products and they own these markets. And the general managers of those business units try to operate as independently as possible. You know, the Nespresso coffee thing, whatever it's called, product, which is the largest revenue for Nestle, I believe, was an experiment by a guy in Nestle, Japan, who was told not to do this because we don't want to interrupt our coffee confectionery business. And he was specifically told, don't do it, but he did it anyway. And it became the most innovative product and the most successful product Nestle ever has. And Nestle now uses it as an example to say, this is how you innovate. Whereas so those companies have this puzzling problem of what do we centralize? So in HR, in my domain, you know, they've always got this problem. Is HR one department or is it a whole bunch of departments, or what's the shared services? What's not the shared services? So, I mean, that's an example of how important this is. I think if you read the books about GE, this is one of the things that took them down. They were not clear on where the authority would sit and where it wouldn't sit. and they didn't understand the relationship between these different businesses. They kept buying businesses and getting into businesses because they thought they would make more money, but they never looked at the synergies with the other businesses. That's the complexity of the problem. And what I talked about in the book is not every industry and how to do this in every industry. I gave a lot of examples, but what is common in this migration is the people practices. There are the 7 chapters are about the people practices that define this irresistible organization, as I call it. And they're common regardless of the industry. So even if you're in an industry that doesn't feel like you're there yet, if you read the book, you're going to see ideas of like, we should be doing that. Why aren't we thinking about it that way?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you're saying relates back to agile software development. I'm just curious, like, what is it about the agile methodology that has led to so many high performing organizations?
Well, Daniel, there's a chapter in the book about agile, and it is one of the ways this all came about. And one of the things I read when I was at IBM was this book, The Mythical Man Month, which is an old book, but it's very famous, by a software executive at IBM. And what he basically discovered at IBM was that the more people you put on a project, the slower it became. And eventually you reached a point that no work got done at all. That it became nothing more than just people talking to each other and never getting any work done. And so what he did, and he was really, to me, the founder of Agile. He just didn't call it that. He said, we need to break this work into small groups. We need to let experts lead the design and development of small pieces of software. And then we need a staff of interconnectors to interconnect these teams so we don't interrupt the work with staff meetings and coordination meetings and quarterly business reviews and on and on and on and on with it slow the work down. So he defined it. And then following him, the Agile Manifesto was written. And the fundamentals of the Agile Manifesto are not necessarily the stand-up meetings and stuff. It's more the fact that it's people over process, that you focus on the people and the conversations and the discussions, and don't try to design every little process that's going to take place. And what I observed at Deloitte, which was a very high-performing company and still is, I used to joke about this with the guy I worked for there. I used to say, where's the employee directory at Deloitte? How do I find the person I need to do such and such or to work on so and so? And he said, there's no directory. It's 2 phone calls. You call the person you know, and he calls the person that he knows. It's relationships. And believe it or not, that's how Deloitte works. Deloitte is a, I don't know, $50 billion company. And most of the work gets done because people know each other, which sounds bizarre unless you've been there. But that's what comes out of Agile, is that it isn't so much the structure, it's the relationships and then the respect and conversations that people have that create this kind of a networked organization. So anyway, and I think the Agile software movement has been just huge in helping companies at all different levels understand how to do this.
Yeah. So my first job out of college was actually working for Steven at Workify. We would do the daily stand-ups. And you're right, it wasn't the fact that it was a daily stand-up. It was the fact that every morning we were touching base on what we were working on the day before, what we were working on that day, and what blockers we had. And because we were having these daily conversations, everyone knew what everyone else was doing. I knew what the engineering team was working on. I knew what the CS team was working on. I knew what deals the sales team was working on from a marketing perspective. And it helped us move so much faster because we were hearing what was going on in the sales call. So now, as a marketer, I know what language to incorporate into our ads. I'm hearing the problems that we're having with our customers. That's helping us improve our product and so on and so forth. So I truly believe in Agile. I think that it's really effective. And I think that a lot of people in the HR space are coming to this realization. Like we had Jessica Zwan on a couple of months back. She's writing a book called People Ops as a Product. So I don't think this is going away. I think that more HR teams are going to start to adopt some of these practices.
Yeah, and I think the role of HR in this is to facilitate it and, lubricate it in a way with the right HR practices that allow it to happen. I just tell you one more story that just occurred to me. I visited the Nestle headquarters in Switzerland a couple of times, and they have an innovation center. It's just spectacular to walk through it. I mean, Nestle makes so many things. And they literally teach employees and they teach managers how to build relationships inside Nestle so that you can innovate and create better products and solutions. They don't just expect it to happen, they teach them how to do it. And so HR has to try to industrialize and formalize these things so they aren't just good ideas, but they're really used all over. And by the way, the way people are paid, the way the performance management process works, how people get promoted, that stuff could possibly get in the way. I mean, if you're paid in a way that it doesn't incent you to work with another group or to collaborate with another group, that's just a blocker. So HR is, I think, a very important part of this.
Agreed. So you also share in the book the characteristics of high-performing teams. You share 8 key characteristics. Are all of these characteristics created equal, or are some more important than others?
Well, I don't remember what the 8 things are, but
we were gonna list them out, but we realized that would take they're pretty.
I'm sure they're all equally important. I mean, I think every team is different. I don't think, the reason people come up with these lists is so the person reading it can say, you know what, we're not doing that. That's the thing we need. Every team's a little bit different. And as I went through there, one of the things in that chapter is different types of teams. There's design teams, there's service teams, there's internal delivery teams. There's, what you do as a team to some degree defines what's going to make you effective. But the things that are common are relationships, psychological safety, honesty, a sense of mission, a sense of purpose, team formation, bringing people into the team who fit the team and want to be part of the team, and holding each other accountable, and keeping the team small. I mean, you guys have read the 2 pizza rule from Jeff Bezos, which is actually brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. I think everybody's seen that. I've worked on so many different teams and projects over the years, including at Deloitte. And the bigger they are, the worse they perform. I mean, I've seen it every single time. So many of the things in there are pretty fundamental.
That is so true. I feel like the bigger the team gets, the more it's talking about doing the things and less about actually doing the things.
Yeah, because everybody wants to contribute. And when you get a big team, all of a sudden a whole bunch of people say, well, I guess I'm never going to get a word in edgewise, so I'm just going to hang around the edges and just, do my email while this meeting's going on.
So much of that. Yeah. And it's so frustrating because everyone knows that's happening, and it's leakage, it's inefficiency, and drags over time, just drags the work that you're trying to get done, slows things down. It's a drag on velocity is what I meant to say. And so just kind of shifting gears here, because unfortunately, like Daniel said, we only have an hour to dig through what could take several hours to talk about. One of the things that jumped out at me was a point that you made around what drives great HR organizations. And in the book, you explained that the highest predictor of top performance for HR teams is the existence of a rotational apprenticeship program around the business. And why is this such a key determinant of the level of success that your HR team will have?
Sure. Well, as much as we are enamored by what we do in HR, we are a support function. We don't build things. We don't sell things. We don't support customers directly. We are enablers of that. So there's umpteen thousand books and articles on all the things that make HR successful. And you can sit around all day and pontificate on how your recruiting or whatever it is going to. But if you haven't actually been on the front line, in the plant, in the retail store, in the manufacturing organization, or wherever it may be, and worked with the people doing the work, it's hard for you to design something that's going to be perfect for them. So we have these roles called HR business partners, and HR business partners are very, very important jobs. These are the people that live in the business, helping the people running the company do their jobs better. But that's not the same as having actually done one of those jobs. So every senior HR person I've met who I've considered to be a really high performer has been in a real non-HR job at some point in their career, or maybe multiple times. And I think great companies formalize that and they rotate people around. And I think that should be a common part of this profession. It's sort of like the other day I was talking to the folks who run talent at Microsoft, and they've come to a new model for leadership that says, we don't want you to be a leader in your one domain, and just in engineering, in sales, in support. We want you to rotate around horizontally within Microsoft, and then we will promote you into higher levels of leadership, because you'll understand more about how Microsoft works, and you'll have more appreciation for why different things happen differently in different groups. And that's true in HR. So I think everybody who does that comes back to HR with a totally different perspective on what it is they're trying to accomplish and how they're going to do it.
We have had guests that have come onto this show and they have said, if you want to be an effective human resources professional, you need to work in the business. You need to understand the revenue model. And they had very, very specific examples of what you will get if you take time in your career to work in the business. And so I loved hearing that there was actual like research and predictive kind of insights that point to that, because I agree with it. And I didn't get my P&L experience working for the companies. I worked for Ernst & Young and Goldman Sachs, both great organizations. And I learned a lot of great things from those companies, but it wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that I operated in the business. And it truly has transformed kind of the way that I look at all things, people, the business, fundamentals, all of it. And so I'm grateful for it. And I hope that we see a trend of more and more companies adopting these apprenticeship programs.
By the way, I also think they should rotate around inside of HR. Like if you've been in recruiting,
Agreed.
You should go work in learning, you should go work in tech, all of these different domains are each deep and they're all interconnected.
And so before we move on, because there are a couple of questions we want to ask that are not about Irresistible.
Sure.
If there's one lesson that you hope everyone takes away from reading Irresistible, what would you want that to be and why?
I would say there's two, but I'll give you the core
Perfect.
one, which I think most...
One, two, three. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the core one, which I don't think I need to say too loud because most people know this, but I need to keep repeating it, which is that business is all about people. Every business problem you will ever face is always a people problem. You may frame it as our technology's no good, our marketing's no good, our salespeople are underperforming, whatever. It is a people problem. It's motivation, it's training, it's rewards, it's culture, it's management. So that's number one, is the stuff in this book is not just for HR. I mean, there's a lot of HR jargon in there, but everybody who's not an HR person can read that book and learn a lot too. And I've talked to people about it. The second thing is that the 7 things that are written in the book are deliberately written in very simple phrases, but they're all complicated and hard to do. So you can read the phrase and say, oh, all right, that sounds easy. And then you read the chapter and you're like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of things to think about if we want to do this well in our company based on the way we operate. So I want to respect the fact that, if you read the book and you say, we want to do all this stuff, you're going to be going down a journey and you're going to be spending some time with the rest of your team figuring out how to do it. And there is no GE to follow. There's no perfect solution to each one of these things, but I can more or less guarantee that if you work on these 7 things, they're all going to take you into a good place.
Love it. So one thing that I wanted to quickly talk about, I know we don't have much time, but as a marketer, I'm constantly nerding out on all the tools that are out there. And with Chat GPT and all of these new tools out there, I've been experimenting. And there's this one tool that I tested out recently called Jasper.ai.
Oh yeah.
And it's for, copywriting, it's for generating art that you can use in your marketing collateral. It is so cool. You can literally, describe what you're looking for, drag and drop any image from the internet, tell it the mood that you're looking for. You can say that I want it to be in the medium of graffiti and I want it to be inspired by Picasso. I don't know. You can put in whatever you want and it'll spit out 4 or 5 pieces of art that you can pick from and use. And I just think this is so freaking cool. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of applications like this going forward. And I saw that you recently did an episode on ChatGPT on your podcast and why it's more massive than we think. So I'm just curious, how do you see ChatGPT and other tools like it changing how we work? And are there any interesting use cases that you're seeing for HR teams right now?
Yeah, it's early days, but I mean, you can fight it and you can talk about why it's frightening and all that, but you just got to accept it. These tools are always scary in the beginning. Well, the magic of this stuff is that these algorithms can stitch together billions of pieces of data and find interrelationships between images and words and phrases and sentences that are very hard for people to do. So even though it's called intelligence, it isn't really intelligence. It's just very, very sophisticated pattern matching and statistical analysis. So what it's been proving to do, and it's very early days, is it's really useful for, just like you said, Daniel, getting you started on a project or a design or an article or information that would take you a long time to do on your own. Now, it's not perfect. It's not going to write a PhD thesis necessarily that your advisor is going to promote. And there's lots of inaccuracies. And if it indexes inaccurate information, it will produce inaccurate information. So there's a lot of ethical things that are being worked on, but the interconnectedness of it is huge. And so the applications that I've already run into are training, knowledge management, technical support, writing code. I haven't played with the graphic stuff as much, but I'm getting excited about it now that you talk about it. Things that we all do all the time, and they're frustrating to do from scratch. Like if my computer's broken or something, and I got to read the Microsoft documentation, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll find the right stuff. But if this chatbot can search for me and get me there faster, and maybe it doesn't give me the whole answer, but it gives me 80% of the answer, I just saved 2 hours of poking around trying to find it. Think about sales training, think about manufacturing training, think about onboarding, think about tech support. I mean, there's just hundreds of applications for this. And then you go into domains, like let's suppose you're Chevron and you want a Q&A database about deep well drilling and all the documentation we've ever done on deep well drilling. Or you're JP Morgan Chase and you want a Q&A database on regulatory compliance for IPOs. I don't want to read the book on that. I don't have time. I took the course 2 years ago and I don't remember it. So I want to ask somebody for help. And the guy I want to ask is not available. Plus, I don't know who he is. So I asked the chatbot. I mean, there's like hundreds of applications for this in business.
Where's the
Recruiting,
where's the
on and
where's
on
the
and on.
where's the Josh Bersin chatbot?
We're gonna do that.
We need that. Yeah.
we have a lot of stuff written down, videos, articles, etc. And we're gonna get some help, and we're gonna try to build a chatbot. But no plans I can announce yet.
Oh man, well, we'll have to have you back on when you get closer to that. Okay. Unfortunately, we got to turn the corner and start bringing the conversation to a close. Josh, the next tradition we have on the show is what we call rapid fire questions. We ask the same few questions to every guest that we have on. First question: how do you define a modern people leader? What are the traits and characteristics?
Understands the business well, loves people, listens well, has enough judgment and experience to coach and develop other people, and is always willing to learn how to do their job better.
Oh, love it. Love it. Next question. If you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old Josh, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
The advice I would give myself is just be patient and try to enjoy every job and every stage of your life, because you don't know where it's going to go. It's unpredictable, and just enjoy the journey.
But what about the ones with the toxic managers are so hard, Josh? So
And
hard
you got to
enjoy.
live through those. I've had a couple of
do.
those. I had a couple of terrible managers, and I just had to live through them and just move on.
Growth for me has come in the sometimes most painful situations in life.
Trauma-led growth. I mean, definitely every bad situation you ever have, you will look back on it and say, wow, did I learn a lot from that?
Amen. Last question. If you could fix any HR people problem with a magic wand, what would it be and why?
I think the thing that I most dream to do, and maybe this is the business I've been in forever, is interconnecting HR people to each other so they can learn from each other more quickly. I constantly find myself talking to somebody wishing, I just wish you had been with me in the meeting I just had. You wouldn't have been asking this question.
So true. So true. But the community is growing and the open
Yeah, but there's
sourcing
some way of
HR.
connecting people together that's not been figured out yet. It's, there's only so many meetings and chat boards you can go to.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. All right. So a big reason that we've been able to get so many great guests is from this question I'm about to ask you. Who should we bring on to the show next? Are there one or two people that you highly recommend us talking to? And I know it's hard because you know so many people.
Well, okay, so I met Katarina Berg, the CHRO of Spotify, in October. I think you should try to get her because she's not only the head of HR at Spotify, which invented and industrialized the Agile model, but also she's the COO. She has a business perspective. She would be really incredible. Helen Russell, who's the CHRO of Rivian, is a fascinating person. She's going to be speaking at our conference. Really intelligent, really bright, really creative person. I think she worked at Tesla before that. She would be a really interesting person. Some of these people are pretty busy and they may not have an hour, and maybe you can get them for half an hour.
We'll take whatever we can get.
All right.
Yeah.
The CHRO of Lego is an interesting guy. I've got some people that I know that are really, really great.
All right. Well, you're the second person that's told us we need to have Katarina on. So maybe we'll start there and we'll try to get as many people as we can, but we would love to have her on. All right. So every episode we end with a one word or phrase close where we can respond with a word or phrase from the episode that we want to close with. Who wants to go first? And I'll pick on you, Stephen.
Oh, that perfect timing. There is a bit of recency bias here, but I'm going to go with interconnected HR because that just sounds awesome. My vision of that, is awesome.
I mean, the word that I would use is growth, because if every individual, both in HR and in the company grows, the business grows, and we're all growing all the time. I mean, this is just the nature of who we are as human beings.
All right. Mine's more of just like a personal sentiment right now, but grateful. I'm just grateful that we have the opportunity to talk to people like you and that this is a part of our weekly routine, that we get to learn from smart people like you and have interesting conversations. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. And to echo that, Josh, you truly are a legend in our industry. You are. And I didn't want to go too hard in the paint of that up front. No, you absolutely are one of the OG HR thought leaders. And we're definitely blessed and grateful that you would take an hour of your time. You're very busy to meet with us. So thank you very much. And hopefully someday we can bring you back on the show.
Thank you, guys. It was really, really great. I enjoyed it too very much.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.